Alright, so a few days ago I made a video talking about things that I think would kind of improve upon Resident Evil 5 with a remake, and in the comments I had a lot of responses saying, people's own ideas and people giving their own thoughts on what they want to see change, or, things that they want to stay the same, and there's some pretty interesting stuff in there. So I thought what I would do today is go through those comments that I've seen and kind of talk about what people have said. I think some of it is probably more likely than you would think, and I think some of it is a bit far-fetched, but regardless we'll go over kind of what people want to see, and yeah, let's just get straight to it. So one of the things that people have said is to redesign the fight with Irving, and I don't think I actually mentioned that fight specifically in the video I made myself, but I think it definitely needs improvement. Not only is he super tanky, but the fight's very simple. You have 4 turrets you use on the boat. You shoot him on his back until his mouth opens up, and then you shoot him in the mouth, and he rinse repeat, and he dies. And there's not much to it. And it's the same with the kind of the Acceler boss fight as well, where you kind of shoot the weak spots, and then when you get the artillery, you shoot the main spot, and then it dies. And they're very formulated fights, and I think they could definitely probably improve them. I don't know how specifically, like maybe make like the whole boat playable, and you fight them in different parts of the boat rather than just on the deck. That'd be pretty cool to make that whole area a bit more expansive. Maybe keep the turrets in some way, but I don't think there should be the primary way of dealing damage to him. Maybe he grabs the boat and tries to sink it, and you have to stop him with them, or something along those lines. But I think if they make the fight more engaging with both players and give you more options to deal with him, then I think it will definitely be a better fight, and also tone down his HP a little bit, because that fight can take a while regardless of difficulty. Now this next one is quite interesting, and it is making Jill a pursuer type enemy in the early part of the game. Now I'm not a big fan of pursuer types anymore. I think they were fun at first, and they were definitely kind of exciting to deal with on the first playthrough, but I think they're starting to get overused. I'm glad with 4 they were there very briefly. Well, they weren't overdone. There were moments where you were chased, but that was pretty much it. But having Jill as a pursuer type in the early part of the game, mainly with the Irving section, like maybe she kind of tries to track you down at certain parts of the game, and obviously you can't kill her because she's got super powers basically, and you still don't know who it is at that point. Obviously the player will know, but the characters won't know, and there'll be like this mysterious threat that's trying to kill you and stuff, and you can't stop them. I think that'd be pretty cool. It's a good idea, and I definitely think they're into pursuer types, regardless of how much they're in the game. They've been in pretty much every installment for years now, so if they decide to pick one, that is honestly not a bad option. Another comment I saw that was pretty cool was to have more outdoor locations, and also maybe kind of some infected wildlife, because we're in Africa, so you got lions, hyenas and stuff like that. That would be pretty cool. I don't think it's a huge priority, but they're not shy when it comes to using animals and infecting animals to fight you. There's dogs in pretty much every game. The original Resident Evil games had sharks and spiders and whatnot, so there's plenty of animals out there they've used. And yeah, like you say, you're in Africa, there's wildlife that's already vicious without being infected, so it would be even worse if it was. And there are animals in Resident Evil 5 already that do fight you, like crocodiles and stuff like that, but that's pretty much it. Obviously you got dogs as well, but they're in every game. So yeah, maybe going more into that side of the game could be pretty cool at certain points. In terms of outdoor environments, I'm not too sure. I think a lot of RE5 is outdoors, especially the early parts of the game, and it's also daytime, which is very different. That's a big thing that I'm actually interested in them doing with the remake. Is it going to be in the middle of the day all the time, well, most of the time again, or is it going to be at night? I guess we'll see, but I didn't really have an issue with the daytime thing. I thought it was quite it was quite fresh to play a horror game, quote, in the middle of the daytime, because I don't know, it just felt kind of nice. So maybe they'll change that, maybe they'll keep it the same, I don't know, but more outdoor locations, yeah, I'd go for that. That'd be pretty cool to see. The next one is kind of, I mentioned it briefly in my own video, but with the villains of the game, like Irving and Acceler and stuff like that, gonna have them tied to a area of the game. I did kind of mention this in my video, where you have to deal with a threat per location. So the early portion of the game is about Irving, and you kind of have him interfere more with you in the first section of the game until you fight him, and then after him it's obviously Acceler, and maybe they could add her more into the next part of the game, and then obviously the final villain being Wesker, and have him be like the big presence at the end of the game. From reading it, it pretty much sounds like how the formula works for Resident Evil 4. So the village section, obviously you've got Mendez, and then you move into the castle, and you've got Salazar, and then for the island you've got Sadler as well. So a villain ties to each section of the game, rather than them being like ever present and not really doing anything until you actually just fight them. That would be pretty cool. I'm also glad to see I'm not the only one that thinks this game needs some kind of parry or dodge mechanic like RE4. That mechanic is just massively helpful with Resident Evil 4, and because of the amount of enemies you fight, it really does come in handy. So I think definitely keep that in this game. Maybe give both characters unique parries and unique dodges and stuff, just to make them feel a bit different to each other. But yeah, that mechanic should definitely stay in this game. More so because I really do think that certain parts of 5 that you are dealing with a lot more enemies than 4. I could be kind of making that up, but sometimes it feels like there's way more enemies in 5 than 4 at certain points. And finally, kind of the big one I've seen a couple of people mention is to kind of implement Lost in Nightmares DLC into the main game, and also maybe bulk it out a little bit more, because I always thought, and I think a lot of people do agree with it, that Jill is so like underused in 5. Like her character in 5 is pretty cool, it's an interesting idea, and the payoff for it is pretty good, but really, not really in the game at all. So I think have that DLC as part of the main game, whether it's like a prologue to the game and it acts as a tutorial, and you're supposed to lose against Wesker at the end because that's what happens in the DLC. Maybe do that. Maybe when Chris is talking about it in that flashback sequence, you actually play it rather than watch a cutscene. And then maybe have Jill kind of interact with you more in the game. Like someone said, you know, make her a pursuer type, make her fight you every now and again, or kind of disrupt your plan every now and again. Obviously, a lot of older players who have played the original are gonna know who that is, who that like hooded character is, but maybe they'll change it in a way where it's obviously for newer players a bit more difficult to figure out, because if you've played the original game, then you'll know it's pretty easy to tell who that character is. And I played through the game with a friend of mine who had not played it before earlier this year, and he knew straight away. Like, he was like, so that's Jill, right? I didn't want to say anything, but it's very difficult to not say anything when it's so obvious that it is. So I think for new players who haven't played it before, definitely try and keep the twist kind of a bit more mysterious, you know? But yeah, that's pretty much going to do it. I mean, there were some interesting comments in there, and I think they're really good ideas for the most part. And it's good to see people kind of give their own thoughts on the game and what they liked and disliked about it and things that they want to see improved. There were some comments out there that were saying that 5 is just a bad game and it shouldn't be made, or it should have like completely changed to a horror game in a remake and stuff like that. And it's fine to not like the game, but you know, if there are people in the comments saying they like the game and stuff like that, and you know, they're excited for the remake and want to share their ideas on it, then just let them have that, because you know, it's just unfair, really. Like, if you don't like 5, that's fine, but don't ruin someone else's enjoyment of the game by being negative or whatever. But anyway, if any more thoughts do come to mind for anyone watching the video, do let me know in the comments what you want to see change in the 5 remake. It's always interesting to see kind of what you guys think. And also, on that topic, if anyone has any ideas for what they want to see in Code Veronica, because obviously that is another remake that is rumoured to be coming, do let me know, because I do kind of want to see what other people think about that game as well. But that's going to do it. Thank you all for watching. Remember to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and subscribe for more RE content. I try and post most days and stream most weekends, so there's always something going on. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one.